Enchanting in Minecraft is a pretty complex thing when it doesn't seem to be that way, and I've realized after playing on different SMPs with different people that a lot of people truly do not understand how to enchant their armor correctly. So this is going to be a tutorial to show you the ins and outs to get the best gear possible in Minecraft Bedrock. One of the most important things for an enchanting is experience. So behind me you can see this general mob farm I built in the sky. There's a trident killer. I can make a tutorial on this if you don't know how to do it. But long story short, it just creates a lot of mobs, kills them automatically for me. You can AFK there and gain a bunch of levels. That's how I got 63 levels already. I did that so that way I could make this tutorial. This is a new world that I started just 2 days ago in real time. Did it next to a village, that way I could have a mending villager, which I already have. If you don't know what mending is the strongest enchantment in the game, honestly. It turns some of the experience you get into durability for your weapons. So if you notice, these aren't perfect yet. I just built the general mob farm last night and I AFK'd at all of it. I got all this useful items from it. As you can see, bunch of gunpowder, bunch of bones. So we're going to stash all that real quick while I start explaining. Okay, so to make it simple, the anvil is both your friend and your enemy. The anvil is great because it allows you to use enchanted books. Enchanted books allow you to get more than just what the enchanting table offers you, right? So I got pretty lucky here. On this helmet, I got Protection 4, Respiration 3, Thorns 2, and Mending, which is not perfect at all. We want Unbreaking on here, we want Aqua Affinity, a lot of different enchantments. Helmets and boots are kind of special. They have enchantments that can only go on them. Also legs now with Swift Sneak, with the inclusion of the Deep Dark and the ancient cities that belong there, which now have the Swift Sneak enchantment for your legs. So the goal of enchanting, if you want to have the best enchanted gear, you're going to have a bunch of levels. That's not even a question. That is just part of it. You're going to need paper. You're going to need leather. So you want to have a cow farm and sugarcane. Down here I have sugarcane growing. Over here I have cows. So let's just kill a couple of these cows. I'll rebreed them in a little bit and get the population back up. But for right now, for the purpose of this, you're going to need leather. I have looting on this sword, so I get a little bit of extra. So right there, I just got 18 leather. Okay? So we're going to take the leather and the paper, and we're going to go over to a crafting table, and we're going to make books. And I'm going to show you on one piece of armor how to properly enchant and get all the enchantments you want. I have 63 levels ready to go. So the first thing you're going to do, I have an anvil over there, where you're going to go up to the enchanting table. The first step of enchanting any piece of armor correctly is to go here with the piece of armor. You're going to place it in. You're going to see what the top enchantment is. For that, it's Protection 3. We want Protection 4. Protection 3 is not that bad, but you definitely want Protection 4. Usually chest and legs share the same enchantment, right? You always want to go the max level when you're going for this. So if you don't get the enchantments you want, the correct thing to do is to put a book in. And we're going to re-roll the enchantments. You're also going to need lapis lazuli. So we're going to take that. Boom, boom. Then you're going to come over to the enchanting table. The first step is always to do the enchanting table first, before you anvil anything. Because, as I said, the anvil is both your friend and your enemy. The anvil looks at how many times that specific item has been used at the anvil. And that's how it decides if something starts to say too expensive. If you get too expensive, that's a problem. You can no longer go any further with that item. So to get the best possible items you can, you're going to need to use books and an anvil without... So if I want to reroll the enchantments, right, Lure 2, that's not going to go on any armor. So I'm going to take a level 1 enchantment to save my levels to reroll the enchantments. And we're going to keep doing this until we get the correct enchantment we want. Protection 3 is not what we're looking for. If it says Protection 4, that's a different story. So what we will do, we'll take that level 1 enchantment again, and we're going to keep putting the items in until we get Protection 4 for each piece of armor. Or if it's the boots, a specific, like Feather Falling 4. You want this on every pair of boots. This is one of the best enchantments of the game. It just reduces fall damage to make it practically null and void. So we're going to take this and we're going to see what happens. See, unfortunately we got fire protection 4, which is not what we want. We got feather falling, which is great, but the fire protection 4 makes it so that way these are not the best boots. So what we're going to do, we need a grindstone. I actually have a grindstone over here in the village for the villagers already, so we will actually go take one of them, because they don't need all of the ones that I gave them. I probably should have did that before I started making the tutorial video, but that's okay. It takes me 2 seconds. So we're going to take one of these. So now that we have the grindstone, we're going to take that. Grindstones are important because they remove enchantments from armor. So if you don't get the enchantments you want with a grindstone, you can put it back in and it will refund some of the experience you used to create that enchantment and give you the piece of armor back. So now we're going to put it back in. Protection 4, perfect. This is exactly what we want. We can make anything else go on this armor, but protection 4 is the definite protection that you want for every piece of armor. That is the best in slot. It gives you the best bang for your buck overall. So now we're going to go like this and do a book and re-roll the enchantment. Sharpness 3, that's a good enchantment. We'll take that. And we got Unbreaking 3. So this is going to be perfect examples. So we're going to put the chest piece in now. That's protection 3. That's not horrible. You can always combine a protection 3 book with a protection 3 piece of armor and get the one that you want. Look at that, protection 4. That's exactly what we're looking for. So the goal is to get at least protection 4 on every piece, because we can get everything else we want, but if you get the wrong protection on the piece of armor, like if we were to get projectile protection, we can't have protection 4 as well. You can only have one type of protection, and protection 4 covers all bases. It's not the best in any one thing, but it's the best overall. So we have projectile protection, so we don't want that. So we're going to do a book to re-roll the enchantment. So we're just going to take knockback 1 book just to re-roll the enchantment, put the pants back in. That's blast protection. We don't want that. So we're going to do another book. Protection 4 book. That is perfect. With feather falling. That's really, really good right there. So we're going to try the pants again, because we want that feather falling. Look at that. Protection 4. Unfortunately, we didn't get lucky. Normally when you grab the enchantment, you have a chance of getting multiples. But on each piece, we only got protection 4. Which is a little unfortunate, but it's not that big of a deal. So the real question is, how do you get every enchantment that you want on a piece of armor? Well, the goal is pretty simple. You want multiple books with the different enchantments you want, but you don't want to take any singular book and put every enchantment on that one book, because it'll say too expensive. So, right, we have protection 4 boots. We have feather falling right here. Do we have anything else that's extremely good? We have Unbreaking 3. So, let's say we were to go like this. Feather falling 4. Unbreaking 3, right? So it's 7. It costs 7 levels to do that. So if we switch the books, it goes up to 12, which means that this is the cheaper way to do it. So we're going to do this, which is going to give us a book with all these different enchantments on it. So then if we put the boots in now, because the boots have not been used at the anvil, the book has, but that will be in the first place. Look how it only cost me 8 levels, but now I'm going to get protection 4, feather falling 4, and Unbreaking 3. Those are very good starter boots right there. We want depth strider, we want a couple different things on here, but that is a very good place to start. And since it only cost 8, it's not going to say too expensive to get what we want next for the enchantments on these boots. So we're going to take those. Now we have really good boots. So we want Unbreaking 3 on both the chest piece and the legs. Thorns is another enchantment, but it's not a very important one. If it comes down to it, you do not prioritize thorns on any piece of armor. You want to go for the better enchantments always. Thorns is like an afterthought. So now that we got that, the goal here, I'm already too low a level, but what I would do is keep going here and enchanting books from now on, because I have protection 4 on every piece of armor. So we're going to be looking for Aqua Affinity for the helmet, Depth Strider for the boots, Unbreaking for both the chest and the legs. Thorns, as I said, is an afterthought. We also have this sword right here, which has Mending already. So that's probably another thing I should be going over, is Mending. To get a Mending villager, you need to have... So I have a Mending book right here. But you need to have a villager that has a specific workstation that makes them a librarian. And You're going to keep putting it down. You do not trade with this villager beforehand. You need to have paper on hand to lock in the trade. You're going to go up to that villager. You're going to get them to link to the workstation. I will show you. I actually locked him in his house. It's for his own good. Don't worry. He loves me. We're friends. Okay. So lock him in here. If you notice, he takes paper as a trade, he takes books as a trade, he takes ink sacks, right? So that gives me emeralds and experience. Eventually they will sell name tags as well, which is always really nice. But right here, first trade, this is what you're looking for. You're going to put down the lectern, and until you see mending as the first trade, you're going to keep breaking the thing and putting it back down and looking at his trades until it says mending. Then you're going to trade paper with him, 24 paper for 1 emerald, and it's going to lock in his trade. We can reduce these prices later, but for right now, it doesn't matter. We want the mending. So this is how I get my mending books in my world for right now. This is a brand new world, so I have not zombie cured him yet, but when I do, his prices will go down to 1 emerald for a book, which is, that's end game stuff when you're there, when you start infecting villagers and curing them. So piece of armor I think we got out of that was the boots, correct? So we're gonna come over to the anvil, and I believe we've already anviled the boots once. So we have protection 4, feather falling 4, and unbreaking 3. So we're going to combine that with the mending book that I just took out of my chest. Look at that, only 5 levels. That's not bad at all. So now we have protection 4, feather falling 4, unbreaking 3, and mending over here. That's a very good start. We're only missing a couple enchantments to make these the best boots you can get in the game. In doing so, by putting mending on it, now when we get experience, these boots will repair themselves. This is my first set of diamond armor in the world. I have not had any other diamond armor. The second I got this, I decided to build the farm, get a mending villager, and start enchanting, so that way I do not have to go mine diamonds repeatedly in this world to get what I want. So, I can also show you for weapons. So say we have this sword right here. Not very good. It has mending, it has sharpness, it has looting, but what we really want, does it even have unbreaking? It doesn't. So I've already used this sword and put mending on it in this anvil. If I was to start with a sword and do the sword and a book, it would cost me more doing it individually than taking these books that have not already been used at the anvil and say I do something like this. See how that only costs 2 levels? Right? I mix it 3 levels, but that doesn't really matter. If I was to go like this, take this book out and put the sword in, that would cost me 2, right? And I would only get 1 enchantment. Next time I do it, it would go up to like 6. It would keep going up. But if I take the sword out and I combine this book with this book for 2 levels, and then I put the sword in with this book, it's costing me 4 levels, but it's going to be cheaper than the 6 that it would have cost me if I did it 1 book and the sword, because every time I put this sword in the anvil in this first spot, this price goes up, and it starts to go up exponentially to the point where you can't enchant the sword anymore. But that makes this have mending, unbreaking, sharpness 3, and looting, which is nowhere near the best sword in the game. I haven't had enough time to get all the enchanted books. I literally set this up just to make this tutorial very quickly and explain. The more you use a specific item at the anvil, the higher the price goes up. So you want to use a combination of a book and a book together, and then another book and another book together, plus the enchanting that you did on the item originally at the table to get the best possible enchantments you can get. And sooner or later you can have every enchantment on the game for that specific item on the item at the same time without it saying too expensive. And that's how you pretty much get God armor. That's just a small explanation. There's a lot more, that little bit more nuanced stuff that goes into it, but long story short, the less you use each specific item in the first slot of this anvil, the cheaper it will be for you, and it will not say too expensive, and you'll be able to max it out. Hope that helps. Have a good day.